Hey, what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth.
Take exit 1058 toward Demery Street.
So, gonna be discussing, doing another champions report. This is on the WBA Super Championship. That's the main title for the WBA. They have an interim, a regular, and a super champion. So this is the main title that actually matters when it comes to unifying belts and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to discuss all the champions from 122 to 200 to heavyweight. That's 12 divisions, and see what's, just do any updates and let you know what's been happening with those champions and who they are. So we started with 122, and the champion there is the undefeated unified champ, Mirajan Akhmadaliyev, who also holds the IBF title. He just recently returned in early April and took on former IBF champion Ryosuke Iwasa in a mandatory title fight, and he dominated. Not dominated. He was winning the fight convincingly, and in the fifth, I believe it was the fifth round. He was landing some good shots, but he looked like he might have wobbled Iwasa, but the referee jumped in really prematurely, stopping the fight, and, he would win by TKO because of that. But, I don't think anybody was doubting. I don't think anybody was doubting that he was going to win the fight regardless, but still, the fight was stopped a little early, but nonetheless, he wins the fight, fifth round TKO, and retains the unified title. Now, almost immediately after that, the WBA ordered him to defend his unified title against Ronnie Rios, former world title challenger, and current top contender. So now he is in line to fight for he's in line to fight for the super title against Akhmadaliyev now. So that should be a decent one. Don't know when they're planning on making that fight. He did make quick work of his opponent, Ronnie Rios, in his last fight. Didn't really struggle with his opponent either. So, all that being said, I think
to turn left onto Road 108 South Demery Street.
I think there's a decent chance that that fight will happen during the summer.
Left onto Road 108 South Demery Street.
I'm sure DAZN will pick it up, and it should be a pretty decent scrap. I don't think it'll happen before the next champions report, so we'll let you know. Next at 126, the champion there is still Leo Santa Cruz. Even though he has not defended the title in over 2 years, hasn't even fought in that weight class, he is still the super champion at 126 pounds. We have not heard whether Leo plans on returning
here for 7 miles
to the featherweight division or not, but he for sure is, his last fight, he got knocked out badly against Gervonta Davis, and still the WBA is considering him the super champ at 126. So, not sure what's going to go on there. Hopefully we get some kind of update on either him fighting or them upgrading Shu Kan from China to super champion, but we'll see. 130 super featherweight. The champion there is the undefeated Gervonta Davis, who captured the title in his last fight when he knocked out Leo Santa Cruz, what we just talked about. Davis has decided, instead of staying at 130 or even moving back up to 135, he is jumping 2 weight classes to try to become the regular champion at 140 pounds when he takes on undefeated Mario Barrios on June 26th. What that means is I highly doubt the WBA is going to allow him to hold on to a belt 2 weight classes down, especially when he already holds a regular belt at 135 and he's shooting for the regular title at 140. I really don't think his plans are to come back down to 130 after that, but you never know. WBA wouldn't surprise me if they allow him to stay champion, I just wouldn't be surprised. But if he doesn't, Roger Gutierrez should be upgraded to super champion by that point, but we don't know. We'll see what happens. 135 lightweight. Champion there is the undefeated and undisputed champion, Teofimo Lopez, who holds all 4 titles. Lopez is returning Saturday, June 5th, in a main event of a Triller pay-per-view, where he will take on his IBF mandatory #1 contender and undefeated George Kambosos Jr. I don't think Lopez is going to struggle with Kambosos. I think he'll make quick work of him, dominate him, knock him out in the early to middle rounds, and retain his undisputed title. After that, it's up in the air what Teo's gonna want to do. He could move up to 140, like he's been talking about possibly doing that. he could stay here and make another defense. It's really up in the air. We don't know. Hopefully we'll know by the next champions report at least which direction Lopez is planning on going, given that he wins the fight against Kambosos, which, again, I think he will. 140, champion there is the undefeated unified champ, Josh Taylor, who holds the WBA and the IBF titles. Taylor tries to become the sixth man in history to become an undisputed champion in the four-belt era, which is the last pretty much 25 to 30 years, when he takes on fellow undefeated and unified champion Jose Ramirez from the area that I'm currently in, Fresno, Lodi, all this area. Avenal is where he's really from. But Ramirez is a unified champion, holds the WBC and WBO titles, and it's a big-time showdown. They main event that card on May 22nd on ESPN. It's going to be a good one. Personally, I think Taylor will stay the WBA champion and become the undisputed champion overall. But I really do think that Ramirez has a shot to win the fight as well. It should be a good one. Again, Saturday, May 22nd on ESPN. And we should know what's going on for the winner of that fight by the next champions report. Okay, 147, welterweight. The champion there is Yordenis Ugas. Ugas looks to be on a collision course, even though it hasn't been officially announced. It looks to be on a collision course to unify belts against Errol Spence, the WBC and IBF unified champ. Big time fight right there. They were being rumored to possibly be on the undercard of Charlo and Castaño for the undisputed title at 154. They still could very well be that, but I wouldn't be surprised if they loaded a Fox pay-per-view card up and put Spence there against Ugas. Big opportunity for Ugas, big opportunity for Spence to become three-belt champion. The only other belt would be held by Terrence Crawford. So the winner of that fight would be huge. I do expect this fight to be announced by the next champions report. I don't think it's going to happen yet, but I do expect it to be announced by the next champions report at the end of June. 154 super welterweight. The champion there is the unified champ Jermell Charlo, who he holds all three belts, the WBC, the WBA, and the IBF titles. He is going to attempt to become the seventh man in the last 25, 30 years of the four-belt era to become an undisputed champion for all four titles. He is taking on the undefeated Brian Castaño Saturday, July 17th, main event of a Showtime card. That's a big one right there. Can't wait to see that. It really is a fight that could go either way. I'm not going to give my prediction yet because we're going to have a champions report prior to that at the end of June. But yeah, very much so looking forward to that one. That's going to be a good one. Saturday, July 17th on Showtime. 160 middleweight. Super champion there is Ryota Murata from Japan. We just heard that Murata looks to be lining himself up for a showdown with Triple G on New Year's Eve of this year to unify belts. That would be huge for him. New Year's Eve in Japan is that's like a boxing day. It's a huge day of boxing for Japan and for I believe Asia a lot, but I mean there's always Japanese cards on New Year's Eve, and that would be huge for Murata to get Triple G to unify belts. He wants to take a tune-up bout sometime in June. They're talking about, so he might fight prior to that, but if he does, I think it's going to be a stay busy, shake off some rust. He hasn't fought since I want to say December of 2019. And, he needs to shake off some rust. If he comes back in June, that's a year and a half, especially prior to a Triple G fight. So that's big news right there, and I hope that's what goes down for Murata's sake. 168 champion there is the unified champ Canelo Alvarez, who also holds the WBA and the WBC titles. Alvarez is going to attempt to add a third belt. Saturday, May 8th on DAZN in the main event, he is going to take on undefeated Billy Joe Saunders of the United Kingdom. Big time fight right there. Saunders the champion. It's going to be a good one, trying to unify belts. I'm predicting Canelo to win this fight outright and be a three-belt world champion on his way towards a showdown with Caleb Plant to become what will then be possibly the 8th or 9th undisputed champion of the four-belt era. I say 8th or 9th because the heavyweight title fight between Joshua and Fury, we don't know when that's going down exactly yet. That would likely be, though, before Canelo and Plant. So it could be the 9th person to become an undisputed champion. But Canelo, we will know by the next Champions Report by the end of May if he's fighting Caleb Plant in September or not. But Saturday, May 8th on DAZN, he's got to unify belts against the undefeated Billy Joe Saunders first. So should be a good one. Pay attention to that. 175 light heavyweight. The champion there is the undefeated Dimitri Bivol. Bivol is returning Saturday, May 1st on a DAZN undercard when he takes on Craig Richards of the United Kingdom. That's just to shake off some rust. He hasn't fought since October of 2019. He is shaking off some rust for in hopes of landing a big fight with undefeated former super middleweight champion Gilberto Ramirez. That looks to be the fight that's taking place in the second half of the year. He's got to get through Craig Richards. I think he's going to dominate Richards and stop him, or get a one-sided decision and retain his belt. Saturday, May 1st on DAZN. Cruiserweight, 200 pounds. Champion there is the undefeated Arsen Goulamirian. Have not heard what's going on with Goulamirian. He hasn't fought since December of 2019. I really hope we hear, and I think we will by the next Champions Report, what he's doing next. He might even sneak a fight in there over there in the United Kingdom just to shake off some rust. I know he got ordered to take on some guy named Igorov, I think the guy's name was, but I'm not 100%. But I haven't heard anything on that mandated ordered fight, so we'll see. And then heavyweight, the champion there is the two-time unified champ Anthony Joshua. He holds the WBA, WBO, and the IBF titles. He is set to take on the undefeated Tyson Fury. They are still trying to lock down a date, but it looks like they have found a site. They're still finalizing all the details, but it looks like the end of July, early August, him and Tyson Fury will compete to determine an 8th undisputed champion at that time. Granted, Josh Taylor and Jose Ramirez doesn't end in a draw, or Jermell Charlo and Brian Castano doesn't end in a draw. They would be the 8th undisputed world champion in the 4-belt era, and that's huge. It's a heavyweight fight. It's the biggest fight of the year. It takes time to lock it down. It's supposed to be a 2-fight deal. It's rumored to be $75 million apiece in the first fight. So should be interesting. I'm hoping that fight gets finalized. It should be finalized by the next Champions Report. So let's just all keep our fingers crossed that that's what goes down. And that is it for the Champions Report on the WBA Super titles, ranging from 122 to heavyweight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. True Boxing, you've been hit with the truth.